This is Ryan Richards. You can find me at ryanrichards.com. Hey, if you like this channel, will you please subscribe and make comments? Today, I am going to discuss the only two things you need to know about exercise science to get results. So, there is a lot of information out there. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and so many fitness consumers are overwhelmed with information and are confused. Here are the only two things you need to know, and the only things that I will rest my hat on as a lifelong fitness professional and exercise enthusiast. Number one, the general adaptation syndrome. Exercise is very simple. Here it is. The general adaptation syndrome. This theory specifically states that you have a stress, a response to that stress, and then an adaptation to that stress. So here's an example. If you were to go out and sit in the sun for 30 minutes today, and your favorite cocktail in hand, sitting by the pool watching the kids play for 30 minutes, the sun is a stressor. And because we're a biological organism that adapts to these stressors, I've always maintained that the strongest human quality is our ability to adapt to any stressor in life. So you have the sun, you sit for 30 minutes, and your skin darkens, the pigment of your skin darkens in response to the stress of the sun. And that darker pigmentation protects your skin from further sun damage. Now, here's the rub. If you sit in that sun for 30 minutes every day, for 30 minutes, and you don't increase the stress response, after 30 days, your skin is the same color of pigment that it was on day 2. In other words, for your skin to increase its pigmentation, to darken further past the initial stress response, you have to increase your time that you are exposed to the sun. So the same thing can be said for exercise. If you don't progressively overload your body with heavier weights, more repetitions, shorter rest periods, more mileage when you're running, longer distances on your bike, longer poses, more difficult poses, more challenging gymnastics moves, your body doesn't have any reason to adapt past your baseline. That is all that is happening. That's all there is to it when it comes to exercise science. The second principle that you need to understand, which is complementary to the general adaptation syndrome, is the SAID principle, which is an acronym for specific adaptations to imposed demands. A few weeks ago, I had gone back to Ohio to play in a beer league hockey tournament, and over 20 years ago, I used to be a reasonable hockey player, and I haven't played hockey in over 20 years. I played in one game a few years ago for 20 minutes, I don't know. Nonetheless, here is a classic example. So, I lift weights 3 days a week. I ski here in the Central Rocky Mountains, 30 to 70 days a year. I stay fit, generally speaking. I take care of myself, and I have a reasonable level of measurable fitness qualities. Now, I go back to this hockey tournament, and I am still sore. I can still barely walk correctly. My body is so out of whack from skating that you would think, by looking at the way that I walk right now, that I'm a man twice my age, because I haven't specifically trained for such an endeavor. So the specific adaptations to impose demands, the said principle just states that we specifically adapt to the stressors that we place on our body. And this is why, if you're a triathlete, if all endurance activities carried over, then triathletes would just train the event that they loved the most and merely wing it at the other two events. So if you're a great swimmer, it's not going to make you a great runner. And running doesn't make you a better cyclist. It's why the great marathon runners aren't great triathletes. And the great triathletes aren't necessarily Olympic swimmers or, world record holders in the marathon. They train all three events. So, the take-home message for that is that if you want to specifically be good at playing ice hockey, you have to play ice hockey. If you specifically want to be a great bowler, you're not going to get there by swinging a golf club. You have to practice specifically the event that you're trying to be good at. And this is why Dr. Gray Cook, great orthopedic specialist and doctor of physical therapy, the founder of the Functional Movement Screen, once said, train generally and practice specifically. And this is why general fitness is so important and why you should train generally and not necessarily practice specific gym exercises that try to mimic the act of the sport you're trying to improve. Just be generally fit, and by goodness, if you're going to go and play in a sporting event, or you're going to be a weekend warrior or a recreational athlete or a professional athlete, you must specifically practice the game. And at the end of the day, the skills necessary for success in sports, you're going to gain them from practicing the sport. So, in conclusion, here's what you need to know. The general adaptation syndrome: stress, response, adaptation. And you specifically get good at what you practice. It's all you need to know in terms of your exercise endeavors. And what are the practical implications for this? Well, number one, you can rest assured that it is imperative that you persistently, consistently, over a calendar year, over your training career, you add progressions to your exercise program. You have to add weight to the bar. You've got to increase the load, the difficulty of the poses, and you must do this consistently. And again, if you're going to go to a hockey tournament and you haven't played in 20 years like me, you probably would benefit by spending some time on the ice. Or you're going to go out there and do your annual ski trip. If you can get on your local hill for a few weeks before you come, it would really, really serve you. Hey, thanks for checking in today. We'll talk to you next time.